able to spot a transplant from literally a mile away. FE, DHI, implanter pens, pre-made incisions, DHT method implanted in the frontal row of the hairline. Like a feeling of success after all these years trying all these useless treatments. How to choose the best clinic for you. Using natural products. I've been there, I've done it. If you want to go a natural route, just shave it all off, move on with life. What is your plan B? What you gonna do? If there's gonna be no growth, your donor gonna be destroyed, or both? What you gonna do?
So basically, he got this hair transplant to stop the receding and make his hair more full and...
No, hair transplant does not stop the further receding. Whether you get a transplant or not, your male pattern baldness will continue. What is going on? Welcome back to the live stream, guys. My name is Rolandas if you are new here, and today I brought you guys here nobody else than Joe Tillman himself. He's a super busy guy, but he agreed and was kind enough to be on board and answer your questions. So I know some of you might know him from his own hair transplant channel, which is called the Hair Transplant Channel, which is genius. I don't know how I didn't think about it. So basic, but so genius. But nonetheless, he's doing a lot of shows with Spencer Coburn, the Bald Shoof, and a lot of people, asking questions on chat, and he doesn't really have the time to answer the questions in the chat unless you're calling in. Yeah, well, sometimes you do, but unless you're calling in, so not everyone wants to call in. And hey, this is a perfect opportunity for you guys to ask questions in the chat, and they gonna be answered by Joe himself. If not, we're gonna kick him out from the show. Never again.
Well, I would expect nothing less, because you gotta have good content. But I appreciate the introduction. The funny thing about the name of my YouTube channel, I didn't come up with that. My wife did, where sometimes she likes to help out, like making thumbnails and stuff for me if she's got time. She's very creative. She's got oh yeah, she's got a great artistic eye. She's a concert pianist, so she's an artist to begin with, and it just translates into design. But she created my my channel logo, the channel art, not the channel art, but the logo, the blue with the Hair Transplant Channel. She came up with it, and I saw it. I was like, "That's so simple." It says
brilliant.
everything.
I love it.
It says everything.
Yeah, but I remember before that what was the before, like the Hair Transplant Mentor, I think. The Hair Transplant Mentor.
Yeah,
your channel name.
It's had a few iterations, but
yeah. But then I remember when you changed to the Hair Transplant Channel, I'm looking at it, I was like, it's so simple, but yet nobody in the world thought about it. And it's just simply genius. So yeah, I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
I wish there was this opportunity when it came to like domain names for websites. You know, hairtransplant.com or something like that. That's been around for like 25 years. But
yeah, I was about to say that's probably been taken a while ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. But yeah, it was good. But yeah, and you know, the difference with this and what we do on The Bald Truth is I don't really ignore the chat. It's just it's hard to focus on those while we're also got phone calls going on. But it is a call-in show. We want people to call in. There's some great questions that I do see in the chat. We just like for those people to take those questions and ask us on the air through a phone call, because that's what we do. That's the premise of the show. So, you know, in this kind of format, because there is no call-in option, the chat where people are asking questions directly, I think is fantastic. And I do enjoy doing that. And I've done this myself a few times. A couple of years ago, I did a few live streams myself where I was doing exactly that because I don't have the call-in feature. So it's nice. But before we continue, I want to congratulate you, Rolandas, for being an American Hair Loss Association trusted content creator. That's a big deal, man.
Yay, thank you very much. Yeah, that's I'm still actually in the works of doing an actual video on my channel talking about it and like explaining what the hell it is even, but yeah, thank you so much. It's a little
it sounds impressive. That's for sure to start. But yeah, I mean it's something that's given to not a lot of content creators on YouTube or on social media in general, and I think it's well deserved. You've got a great channel. You've got a unique style that gets people's attention, and you know, for someone that's not been in the industry for very long, and when I say the industry, I mean the education side of things when it comes to hair loss and hair restoration, you've gotten a really good grasp of how things work. And it's funny, you and I were talking off air before we started about how when I'm researching something that I want to get involved in, I become almost an expert on it before I even actually get involved with it. And you're the same way, where you don't when you research your hair restoration options, you were one of the most thorough researchers I had seen in a long time, and obviously it worked out great for you. You weren't, you know, distracted by the pretty lights and the wonderful offers of 5-star hotels and all that bullshit, right? So well done. And again, well deserved. And it's good to have you as one of the trusted content creators.
Thank you. Yeah, it's actually an honor. You said that, going back when I actually started, you know, doing my research, obviously started from Google forums, you know, whatever it is, you know, finding some bull crap. Until eventually, of course, I stumbled across The Bald Truth on your channel, and I didn't think much about it back then, but the more I started listening, I was like, you know what, it's actually interesting to listen in the background while I'm doing something else. So I actually was downloading every single, you know, podcast that you've been doing with Spencer, and I was listening on the way, you know, to work, from work, like, you know, during the, you know, breaks I have or whatnot. So I was literally consuming this like live streams, and I probably listened to like every single one of them like 2 years worth, or maybe even more, like just every single episode. And you know, I learned of course a lot, and that helped me. Plus of course your channel, your educational like short videos, how did you call them, the hair transplant class?
Hair transplant class.
And those were like phenomenal. Especially I remember the one about the hair transplant or hair loss associations, you know, between the doctors. That like opened my eyes. I was like, because at first I didn't even realize what's the difference between, you know, ISHRS or IAHRS, or, you know, what is the...
A lot of people don't.
You know, exactly.
People don't to this day, yeah.
And I was thinking, I was considering to go to some of those doctors that are like pioneers, you know, they're all pioneers nowadays. and like they are in some prestigious place of ISHRS, you know, group. They're like showing other doctors how to do surgeries. But if you look at the results, they're like, what the hell? How this guy can teach if, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting. It's like just because someone's a pioneer or something doesn't mean that they're any good at it. You know, it's like.
Exactly. So, you know, and it kind
nothing.
of, yeah, it helped me to kind of filter through all of this nonsense. And to be honest, my success of my transplant, of course, is like more than 50, like 100% of it actually is my surgeon, of course. But I somehow find him because he was unknown, like nobody knew. You couldn't find almost nothing about him online. I somehow had a good feeling, but from very limited like amount of, you know, info that I found about him online, about Dr. Ferreira, like I just straight away knew this is a real deal, only based on your basically teaching that you praise. Okay, you're talking about, you know, single grafted hairline, the hairline designs, you know, the donor management, associations, and all of that jazz, putting together. Here I am. And so yeah, basically whatever I've got today, it's based on you and Spencer. So thank you for that.
I remember the phone call when you called into the show asking about Bruno.
Yeah,
I remember it well, and it was the first time. I think it was the first time you'd called, and you were asking about him, and I forgot who else, but I remember you asking about him, and I think it was not long after I had talked to Bruno about something, or we'd just seen each other someplace, because I've known the guy for 9 years now, and I remember telling you, it's like, well, he's one of the good ones. He's a term I use, something about a gem, unknown gem, I think is what I said. Yeah. So yeah. I'm glad you listened to me on that. Like I rarely will tell someone where to go, but you're asking about Bruno. I was like, yeah, go to him. He's the real deal.
I'm not gonna lie. It's not like I relied 100% on your, you know, I'm this kind of person. I don't trust anyone.
And so, that's the way it should be. Exactly.
That's why I always, teach people on my videos privately. Just God knows how many people, texted me. Always do your own research. Never, don't trust anyone. Don't trust me bluntly. If I'm saying something, double check, triple check. You never know. So many people are paid shills in this industry. It's disgusting. And it's, anyways, I don't want to go into that rabbit hole. It's, you can start calling out people, but
well, it is a rabbit hole, but we can go down anytime you want. I'm ready for it.
I would actually like to go to the comment section because some people are really dying. And actually, before we jump into the comment section, I had the email. One guy texted me, emailed me today. Obviously, he asked me, how much I'm charging for a private consultation. I mean, I'm getting this kind of emails and messages all the time, and I always refusing people. I'm saying, listen, I'm not doing private consultations only because I believe you can find all the information for free yourself. You just have to do your research. That's why I created this channel in the first place. So there's a free information available. You just have to, get it. You have to listen to it. And but I told him, listen, join the live stream, and I'm gonna be with Joe. And he actually asked a question, Joe, to you. And he was asking, there is a doctor here in Dublin, Ireland, called Fotis Garagounis. I was searching on the internet, but I cannot find any reviews, which makes a little bit suspicious. Have you heard anything about him?
Repeat the name?
Fotis Garagounis. I can put the name in the chat. I'll be honest, I never heard about him myself.
It sounds Greek.
It does, yeah. And he's apparently from Dublin.
Can you type it in the chat for me?
Yeah, I just did it. So, yeah.
That's not okay.
I've never heard, so
there it is.
I cannot say anything.
Fotis Garagounis. I can honestly say I don't recall ever hearing about this guy. Let me look him up.
That's what I'm doing right now. I'll have a look maybe on Instagram. We can. There is only private.
Okay, GMC. ISHRS. Yeah, is licensed to practice in Greece, Cyprus, and the United Kingdom.
Oh, I found his website. So why don't we just have a look at...
Garagounis.com.
That's right, yes. You know what I'm gonna put right now on the on my screen, so people gonna be able to see. This is his website. Not endorsing, nothing. I have no idea who is this guy. Let's you know, have a look together. What I do usually, going straight to the library. I don't care who this person is, how much, you know, experience he has. This comes later. First, filter quickly. That's what at least what I do. Quickly filter if he's good or not. Of course, you, Joe, should be able to see probably with a 10-second delay. All right.
Well, I'm looking on my own screen. I'm on his website, and I'm going through the gallery results.
Yeah. First, what I'm not a big fan is that the picture quality is terrible, and to be honest, okay, this case, let's be objective, everyone. He had you know, frontal recession, obviously, pretty diffuse thinner. He had a transplant. We don't know how much work he had done, but he still looks like a diffuse thinner after the transplant. Like, I don't know. Would you like to be one of these guys? Just one example, of course.
Well, I'm looking at the result there, and what I'm seeing is, I don't think it's by design, but that transition zone is a little too much of a transition zone, if you know what I mean. There's not a lot of density there, but the groupings of the hairs, it's again, not a clear photo, but it looks a little chunky to me.
Yeah.
Just based on what I'm seeing this, like I'm looking at on your screen or what you're putting on the live stream, and it's not full screen for me. So I'm seeing a little bit of chunkiness, meaning multi-hair grafts, and it's okay to have one or two, you know, but not a whole lot. And I'm seeing, I think, a whole lot, and they're very visible. But go to the next shot.
Well, there's
I think the overhead.
Yeah, the overhead of the actual work.
Yeah. No, sorry.
Okay.
The next one after that, I do see the typical little undulations that are supposed to be irregular, but they look pretty regular. Okay.
It is very difficult to say. Yeah, let me see some more.
Overhead. I think it was back.
Yeah.
No, it was the previous guy.
Let's have a look at the donor. The donor actually, well, at least he's somewhat spacing, but probably could have been done better just to kind of preserve the donor. Yeah, let's go back in the very beginning.
We don't know how many grafts he had though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think I went too far. This is so okay. Oh, maybe you've been talking about this particular picture. That looks a bit zigzaggy.
Yeah, not a fan of that.
Yeah,
it works on some types of hair, but it doesn't work on every kind of hair. In fact, you want to avoid doing that usually on coarse hair. But again, it is case by case. But if you see it on everything, like there was a doctor in Turkey where I forgot his name. He's one of these mill clinics, or one of the original mill clinics, and I can see one of his freshly placed hairlines. I know it's his work without knowing it's his work, just because of it's like a signature of his, and it's bad.
There is a lot of clinics that have their own signature. You can tell right away. At least I can tell right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, based on what I'm seeing, he's nothing special, not horrible. It looks like, you know, in the UK right now, there's a pretty big movement of medical talent going from Greece and Eastern Europe moving into the UK, because it's pretty easy to set up shop in the UK, and because of the pound versus everything else, it's desirable to set up in the UK. The quality that I'm seeing in clinics like this, it's okay. I mean, for the standard that is out today, as far as what most people would expect, is it up to my standard? Like, no, it's not. And I know it's not up to your standards either. But yeah. I would recommend that that the guy that wrote the email, that he continue his research. And this guy may wind up being pretty good. Who knows? Maybe these are old photos from a few years ago where his talent wasn't quite refined yet, and he's learned more tricks of the trade. I don't know. But if this is what he's got to put on his own website for presentation, which all doctors are putting their best foot forward on their gallery, then
exactly right.
I'd keep looking.
Yeah, it's just I mean, I always just tell people, like, listen, if you're not sure whether it's good work or bad, just whenever you're looking at the result, think about it. Would you like to be in this person's shoes? Would you like to have this result on your hair right now? Would you be happy?
Yeah.
Simple answer. And of course, it has to be proper quality, because usually, especially when people posting on forums, it just blows my mind. This making picture in the car from far away. And the funny part is, the worse the transplant is, the worse the hairline is, the further they taking the picture from, like that. And like, yeah. I know that they're doing it on purpose, but they never gonna tell to anyone. And people looking at it, oh look, it's fake, nice, brilliant, I want to have the same. Then they get it done and they're looking at themselves in the mirror, what the hell is this? Why this hairline looks like a doll hair? Which, by the way, guys, I'm working on a video. One of the famous YouTuber had a transplant almost a year ago, and it looks lovely. It's gonna be one of those examples to show what not to do. I love to say that. Listen, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anyone should have a bad transplant, but if someone is doing it on purpose, marketing for a bad clinic, is a great example. What not to do. So,
and the end result, you know, it does its own job of throwing karma back at the guy, because it's just he stands. That's a great angle. He stands as a lesson of what not to do. I like that.
I used to say it about Matt Dominance all the time, like that. This guy is amazing. I love his videos, and he's a brilliant example of what not to do. Don't do the same, guys.
That's good.
It's true. He's like, if he would done his first transplant the right way, I'm pretty sure he would be amazing. But he screwed up so much to the point that he is trying to catch up, and like, it's tough. So I feel bad for him, but just don't do the same thing. You
don't see YouTubers with 500,000, 1 million subscribers or more that go get a great hair transplant and talk about it and document it. You don't see that.
Yeah.
All the big YouTubers and social media stars that document their journey and talk about it, they usually go to doctors that are at best on the B team. Most of them don't even make the varsity team. Like they're very good at marketing, and that's it. I don't recall ever seeing where someone's gone to an A-lister, like a true top quality clinic, and had an A+ result. I don't recall any of that. I might be wrong. Have you seen
there's
any?
Plenty of YouTubers. I haven't seen personally, but I'm pretty sure there are some that we're just missing. We cannot know everything. Let's be honest,
documented, saying I'm going to Dr. X, and here's my journey, and camera follows along in the whole journey, just like this guy did that you're doing your video on. That's what I'm talking about. I don't recall anyone doing that.
Maybe,
going to an A+
like
clinic.
I said, I cannot say for sure, because I cannot know for a fact. I haven't seen every video on YouTube, but I don't recall. Cool. Let's go back to the chat. We went a little bit off track. Yep. Best surgeon in the UK. What do you think, Joe?
Well, as I always say, there's no such thing as one best doctor. There's just one best doctor for you, because you could get take a vote, and the top 5 doctors in the world will not be seen as the best. No one will say that this guy's the best, that's like got the best, and everyone agrees. It's just not possible, because I've seen this so many times in comments in my videos, and people have called in saying, yeah, I don't like that hairline, it's too high, even though it's just like an amazing result, super, like you'd never guess, and the guy was like super bald, or it's not a very good reconstruction, when in fact it's just like this amazing reconstruction of temple points and the transition zones into the frontal hair, just all the artistic things that I love to see. And some people don't get it, some people do. But who I like in the UK, obviously I have to mention Dr. Edward Ball. Full disclosure, he does pay a monthly fee to be a part of what I do, but I only accept doctors that I'm impressed with, and I think that have a high standard. So there's that. And just for clarity, I don't represent Dr. Ball or any doctor that you'll find on my list. But anyway, I think that he's phenomenal, and what I like about him is he turns away a lot of patients, even some I thought were perfectly reasonable candidates with reasonable requests. If he feels like it's not going to be 100% of a satisfaction rate for a patient, or if there's something that he thinks is maybe premature to be addressing surgically, he will tell them to come back in a year or 2 years. And I like that about doctors that do that, because it shows that they're not just trying to, finance their kids' college education, or, or make the payment on their new Porsche, whatever. And he's always been like that. And on top of that, he's super meticulous about the details of the surgeries, where he's really making sure angle, direction. He's actually one of those doctors that will go into, like, even with an FUT surgery, he'll go into where the strip is being dissected and slivered by the technicians, and he will help to identify the finer hairs coming out of that donor strip to put those in the hairline.
Yeah, and his results speak for themselves. His results are like, I'll be honest, he's a little bit maybe too conservative to my liking, but I see why. But like, if we're talking about the naturalness of his result, it like blows my mind. Like, it's one of the best in the freaking world, because it's just, he knows how to pick finer singles, implant in the very front of the hairline. His artistry, the way he implants them, looks phenomenal. Like, I'm literally blown away. I've got one friend who went there, and he had a transplant with Dr. Ball. His hairline, the way it's done, it's like fantastic. Funny part, that guy has another transplant to lower the hairline because Dr. Ball didn't want to go that low. So, that's that. That's why you have to find your surgeon who gonna, do what you, who gonna have the same vision that you have. But, it has to be like also, in a, what's the word I'm looking for? In a smart way, not going overboard with the, going too low and stuff like that. But but in terms of naturalness, yeah, exactly. Who else? Is there someone else in the UK that you like? I'm putting you on the spot here. There's some doctors where I see good work, but I haven't jumped in enough to actually start, go through the gallery and stuff like this, because I just don't have the time, unless they've applied to work with me. That's one of, it's one of the things I do. But there's good work, and this is not an endorsement of any sort, but there is good work coming out of the Harley Street Hair Clinic, which is the clinic that Rooney went to. I met one of their doctors in June when I was in Turkey for a conference, and we wound up hanging out quite a bit. He's a really nice guy and really passionate about doing hair transplant surgery. It's Dr. Ness, N-E-S, and just lovely guy. Had a really good time with him, and he showed me some of his results that he had on his phone, and I liked what I saw. And I like a lot of what I see coming out of their clinic on social media. They're also fairly conservative, kind of like Dr. Ball. But, and of course, I know the owner of the clinic, and I've known him for many years. And I know some of the people that are associated with the clinic, like Specs, Spencer Stevenson, he represents them. But that's about as far I'll go with that, because I haven't really gotten into the clinic, but I do like a lot of the work that I've seen. Another doctor, he's fairly new on the scene as far as people hearing about him, but he reached out to me about a year ago just with some basic questions, just to introduce himself and make the connection. And I've been watching him, and I think that he is another future leader potentially in this field. And that's Dr. Mani Mattel in London. He used to bounce around through a few different clinics, but he's had his own clinic now for just over a year, I think. And I've had several conversations with him. The guy has his head in the right place. He has his heart in the right place, and I think that his work reflects it. I think he's one of the up-and-comers at this point, based on what I know. So as far as that goes, those are the only three
three names that pop up when that question comes to me.
Okay, I can throw some more names. One of them, Dr. Munib Ahmad from FUE Genics Hair. It's a very interesting name, almost like eugenics. But
I thought he was in the Netherlands.
No, I think he's in a UK, isn't it?
No, he's in the Netherlands.
Oh shit! First, why I was under the impression that I love his work.
Yeah, he's good.
Worth looking at. I don't know why I was thinking. Anyways, another name I'll throw into the mix is Dr. Reddy. Dr. Raghu Reddy. This is one of my favorites in the UK. He's like, quality is so top notch. It's just, you probably cannot go wrong with him. Obviously, do your own research, not medical advice. But yeah, definitely one of my favorites here in the UK. That'll be mine.
I've seen some good work, and I've seen some work where I was kind of surprised it was from him. So my issue with him is one of consistency, and that's one of the things you got to look for is consistency. Mm-hmm. So I've not paid as much attention to him as maybe you have or some other people have, but I do, like, that's the thing that pops up for me when it comes to Dr. Reddy is consistency. I could be wrong. He could be a lot more consistent than my gut tells me, but that's just what pops up in my head.
Yeah, but the point of this discussion basically is just to give some names so people know, what to look for, and they start questioning, like, okay, why this person said this doctor is great? I don't like his work. You know what I mean? And then, like, people will start actually thinking with their own head, and that's basically what I'm trying to do. Let's move on to another question. Boyd, with the advice provided by you guys, videos, I underwent a hair transplant at FUE Genics in Netherlands. There you go. Oh, that's okay. I think I have to shut down this live stream and delete my channel. Anyways, and now all the scabs have come off. It looks like a buzz cut, undetectable from my native hair. Man, really happy for you. That's brilliant. Like, if the buzz cut looks great, it means the angles were nailed. That's the way I see it. So yeah, great. Dr. David Harris. Hey guys, I have a question. I was about to start oral Minoxidil 2.5 milligram daily. I have another hair transplant in March. Should I continue to take in the run-up during and straight after the procedure? Thanks. So, what do you think, oral Minoxidil, when this guy should start his oral Minoxidil?
He said he's having surgery in March?
Yes. Another surgery, so, I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Well, the way I look at it is surgery is the last resort. And if there's a chance that oral Minoxidil can turn things around, or even reduce the number of grafts if he does wind up having surgery, I think it's worth starting ASAP. Any medication that has the potential to turn things around, start now and evaluate. And in 6 months, when surgery comes up, if it's a 3,000, just pulling numbers out, if it's a 3,000 graft estimate today, it might wind up being a 2,000 graft estimate, and you'll save significant money. Or you might not need surgery at all. You might be happy with the result. Yeah. Or you might say to yourself, I've had this kind of result in 5 months. Maybe I should give it another 6 months to see what happens then, because it just keeps getting better. At least for a year with oral Minoxidil, for 2 years with finasteride. Yeah, I've done actually a video. I've filmed it. I haven't edited. I've got so much videos in a pipeline, looking specifically at results people getting with the medications, whether it's finasteride, Minoxidil, microneedling, all together combined, whatever it is. Good idea. Before the surgery. Why I'm doing it, because people keep forgetting, shall I take like in this case, shall I take medication right now or after the surgery? Oh, I'm just gonna get after the surgery and, and that's it. No, you never know how you're gonna react to the medication. There's some people that 100%. Are just crazy responders to the point that they regrowing everything. I'm not even joking. It's like Norwood 6, boom, all full of head of hair. Again, finasteride, Minoxidil, nothing crazy. The thing is, it's not everyone gonna respond like that, but how do you know how you're gonna respond until you're gonna try? You never know, maybe you're gonna be one of those. So you're gonna avoid the whole surgery, you're gonna save money,
which is the minor concern you should have. You're gonna save your donor, you're gonna save potential downsides of the hair transplants that apparently nobody for some reason is talking about it on YouTube, except probably of course Joe and Spencer. They're just talking all the time about don't do it. But anyways, yeah, just try. I would agree with Joe, just give it a shot. And I'm also prime example. I had 2 hair transplants, but some of my crown area was not touched yet with the surgery. And I say yeah, because maybe I will at some point. But the point being is I started oral Minoxidil after my second surgery just to see how the crown can react. It would not be enough for my mid scalp. I already know that because I've tried a topical Minoxidil with microneedling in the past, so I knew what I can expect. That's why I had a second transplant. But the part of the crown that was somewhat thinner, I didn't touch it with the transplant. There was a lot of hair, and I was thinking, you know what, I'll give oral Minoxidil a shot, and I'll see what it can do to that area. Maybe I'll be able to avoid the transplant altogether. And you know, it was pretty good. It was not crazy results, but at this point, I'm actually pretty happy with what I got. It's not perfectly thick. At some angles, you can clearly see there's some thinning going on, but it looks natural. It looks it's just enough for me to like avoid for now the surgery. So I'm not in a rush. That's basically. A win. Exactly.
Yeah, that's a win. Good job.
Yeah, so I would suggest to do the same. You never know how you're gonna react. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go to another question. John, you give out the information for free because you're one of the good guys. Thank you. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. What is the art to doing good side temples and why do so few surgeons do them? Side temples, I assume he's talking about temporal, temple peaks.
Temple points, yeah.
Temple points. Go on, Joe.
Well, there are a few reasons why they don't do them. Back in the day when I was working in clinics, specifically Hassan and Wong, I'd learned a lot about how Dr. Wong makes temple points and what the challenges are and the limitations based on instrumentation. And that's a lot of what will prevent good temple points from being created. And if a doctor is always performing temple point transplantation and it always comes out looking like dog shit, then he's obviously not got a good handle on what's going on and how to do it the right way using instrumentation and angles and directions, all that good stuff. But there are a lot of doctors, well, I won't say a lot, but there are several doctors out there that I know that will not do temple point reconstruction on any patient simply because they know they can't do a good job of it. They won't say as much, but they know they don't do a very good job. And so you'll see, and this is not indicative of a doctor that does bad temple point work, but you'll see them usually doing higher hairlines because higher hairlines allows patients to get away with not having temple point reconstruction. If you have a hairline that's too low and there's no temple point reconstruction where it would normally be warranted, then that's a dead giveaway that something's happened. And a lot of times it winds up looking like a wig because you can't do temple points with a wig, or at least you couldn't in the past. You might be able to now. But when doctors do try to reconstruct temple points and it doesn't look good, it's usually because of the instrumentation. I'll get some flack for this, but it's easier to create 100% natural looking, and I do mean 100% natural looking temple points when you're using flat blades. And the reason for that is because the hair, as it exits the temple point region, it's very flat against the scalp. And because needles are so much smaller in size, like they may be the same width, like say a 0.7 millimeter needle, like an implanter pin, or if someone's doing just needle recipient sites and then using forceps to place the grafts, that wound is going to be larger in diameter than that of a 0.7 millimeter blade, because there's no radius, there's no circumference. That's the needle is 0.7 all the way around, where the needle is only 0.23 millimeters thick on the high end. So it's much flatter. And when you're able to have it much flatter, then you can come in at a sharper angle against the the plane of the scalp. And when that hair grows out, it too is flatter. So you also have the issue with needles when it starts to heal up. Just the nature of the wound itself, as it heals, that like say it's on a flat plane like this, and you come in with the graft at say a 35-degree angle with a needle. As that wound is healing, it actually tightens up and it causes the angle to rise up to maybe a 45-degree angle, and that's not good when you're doing temple point work, because then you got these little wings sticking out the side of your head, and I've seen it. But then there's the artistic issues of understanding the flow of hair. For instance, on most people, the temple point flows somewhat forward, where the right-hand side, it flows backward. And that's something a lot of people don't know. And they won't do it correctly. They'll do it backward on both sides. And then you have like a juncture where the direction of the temple point meets the hair behind it above the ear, and it doesn't flow properly because it's not a natural angle. It's conflicting. And then there's the direction, all these things. So it's a really finely detailed procedure that needs precision. It needs an artistic appreciation for how things are supposed to look, and not a lot of people have mastered it. And that's why if you're looking at hairline work, you got to look at the temple point work that these doctors are doing, because if they can't do temple points the right way, they can't do a hairline the right way. That's why I look at it.
And this is, guys, Joe Tillman. This is why you have to go and
sometimes
you have to go and follow him. Like, where else you gonna get this information for free? This detailed analysis, like, you're not getting it here. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I don't have this much experience. That's why I have to go to his channel and follow him there. And
Thank you.
that's the best place to go. No, truly, it's like the detail, the precision of your information is like literally where else you're gonna get. And once you know this, you can actually start analyzing the cases. You know what I mean? Once you know what to look for, it's like that. When people asking me, like, Rolandas, how do you see this, or how you can tell that this is like a good or this is bad? And you of course can go into the rabbit hole, but like, you need to learn from somewhere. If I say something but you don't see it, it's not gonna change anything. You have to understand yourself. And there you go. Joe, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Anyways, great stuff. Let's go back to some other comments. Oh, let's skip some of them. Hi guys.
Here's a good one. Let me address this one. Komodos asks, how safe is oral minoxidil for the heart? That is an awesome question. And that's one that only a cardiologist or your family doctor can answer, because it depends on your particular situation. It is very patient specific, because it is originally a blood pressure medication. And that's one reason why I've not been so anxious to jump on board with it, because I just don't want to go there. That's something that worries me. It's something that, I have very few things in my life that I worry about based on external factors like medications and things like this. It's like I know enough about the medications I take, in different parts of my life, or if I need to take something, I will understand it. If I don't now, I will eventually, and then I make a decision. Oral minoxidil, I've looked at it a couple of times in different dosages, and I talked to Dr. Wong about it, and he was happy to prescribe it. He's like, sure, we can do it. But I was like, you know what? I think I'm good. Like, how much more thickening do I need to look for before I'm happy? Because it does become this unending quest. And I'm not at this point ready to jump on that bandwagon. It's tempting. Like, I'm always tempted with oral minoxidil, because especially with all the presentations I'm editing from these doctors for this conference coming up, several of them are on oral minoxidil, and I'm like, damn it, I want to take it. But back to the question itself, how safe is it for the heart? It can be quite safe in lower dosages. It can be quite safe in the original dosage that people were taking it as Lamitin at 10 milligrams. but that is between you and your doctor. It might not be safe at all, so you need to talk to your doctor about it.
Yeah, we're not doctors. Probably will never be. Yeah. So yeah, definitely. I personally start oral minoxidil just to see what I can get. I'm a bit of a curious guy, but I decided to start slow, low dose, and I'm currently on 2.5 milligram per day, and I've been for over a year on this dose. I'm not planning to increase. I'm feeling great, and I feel like I don't have any side effects. But again, it's just me, it's just my opinion. I haven't actually went to a doctor and checked like properly everything, which probably I should.
Did you start at a lower dosage?
Yeah, I started with
always start at 2.5.
No, I started I think 1.25.
Okay.
Then after a month I up to 2.5, and then like from what I learned, oral minoxidil is dose dependent, meaning the higher the dose, the more efficacy you can expect. However, also the more side effects. So for me personally, pros and cons. I waited for myself and I decided, 2.5. I'm not planning to go any higher. If something, shit gonna hit the fan, maybe I will consider 5. But for now, I'm happy with whatever it did for me. But actually, I'm encouraging you guys, whoever is haven't tried topical minoxidil, try it first. So much safer. It's been like on the market for ages, FDA approved. Add some microneedling once a week, 1 millimeter, 1.5 millimeter needle, and see how it goes. Try it for a year. More likely than not, you're gonna be happy with the results, because like a lot of people, they're responding really well. You don't have to go to extremes like oral minoxidil. It can be extreme for some people, and it's not as safe. We don't have this much data, so play it safe, and then as the time goes by, make your own judgment. Go to a doctor, see, and see what you're gonna say. That would be my opinion.
Well said.
Yeah. Right. There was an interesting question about spraying saline solution post-transplant to help graft survival. He's asking, is it a primary purpose to reduce large amounts of scabbing, wound healing, or like to return to normal? What do you think about it? Saline after transplant?
Well, I've been through both situations where surgery, they required saline post-op, and surgery where they encourage no saline post-op. And I also remember my first 2 with Dr. Wong. They used to promote a spray with copper peptides, which wasn't saline, but it was just a liquid spray. The reason why most clinics that recommend saline post-op spraying is because they believe that the grafts heal best in a wet environment, and that it reduces scarring, because when you have the healing that's occurring, the scalp feels tight, and it is tight because the skin is being contracted by the healing process, where skin is kind of pulling back into itself. Because of scar tissue kind of pulls things a little bit tight on either side of like an incision or something like that. And so they feel like this helps to aid in that situation. And they also feel that keeping the grafts moist is helpful. But let's dissect this a little bit. The grafts that you're having placed, the part that's alive is under the scalp, and it's already wet from this thing called blood. Which is the only thing that really matters, because it's bringing nutrients, it's bringing oxygen to the bulb of the hair shaft. And so I never understood that. Like, it makes sense at first. It's like, oh, keep the grafts moist for healing. Okay, great.
But is it?
Why? Wait, why is that? Why do they? Because I've never heard, there's no other aspect of life where you need to keep something moist for something outside of the skin to survive, or keeping something outside the skin to survive so everything underneath survive. It doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. So it's just a misconception. I'm not telling people that are recommended to do this by the doctors not to do it, because you do need to follow your clinic's post-op instructions to the letter. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to anyone else.
Exactly.
Don't listen to anonymous people on the forum saying, oh, don't do this. But in my case, it never made any sense. Hassan and Wong, They believe in dry healing. They used to believe in this copper peptide that they'd make the patients pay $100 for after surgery, which I thought was kind of silly. And then my first 2 surgeries back in the 90s, the doctor had me spraying my recipient sites for probably a week and a half, and I had to wake up every 4 hours through the night to do it. So
4 hours, a week and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel sorry for you. No sleep for one.
Now, I do understand maybe the logic behind keeping it clean by the pressure washing aspect of a spray bottle, but no one's being told to do it for that reason. And if there's good post-op cleansing, and I mean immediately after the surgery while you're still in the chair, through a pressure wash, then it's especially not necessary. And what a pressure wash is where a clinic will take a bag of saline up on a pole hooked into a syringe, and they're pushing the plunger on that syringe in a pressure washing fashion, because it does come out at a high velocity, and it literally pressure washes the recipient area of all the dry blood that's accumulated through the through the surgery.
Yeah, I remember during my both surgeries, like in Ferreira, he was had a spray bottle, like a liter spray bottle, just saline, and he was spraying the shit out of it. Like my whole scalp was like during the surgery, but also immediately after the surgery, just to make sure it's clean. And listen, it's an interesting question for me only because I'm getting this kind of questions like privately, almost on a daily basis. Probably it's just.
Really?
One of the most, a lot of people asking me. And I always say the same, like, listen, don't listen to me or anyone else, like you said. Listen to your doctor. After all, you trusted him with your head. You have to trust, like, I'm not a doctor. I don't have your best, interest in place. I mean, it's not I'm a bad guy, but your doctor is supposed to have your best interest. So, like, if that's his protocol, just do it. He probably is comfortable with that.
There are 2 reasons why people need to follow their post-op instructions from the clinic to a T and not listen to anyone else. There's 2 reasons. The first is because, well, you pick that clinic for a reason to get the best result that you expect and that you're hoping they'll deliver. And this process that they lay out for you is how they get their best results. So you need to follow.
Exactly.
You don't follow the directions of anyone else, because you need to trust the people that you trusted with your surgery to give you the right information to follow after your surgery to get the best result. That's reason number 1. But reason number 2, which is a less popular reason, some people don't like it when I talk about this, but if something happens where your result doesn't turn out the way you want it to, and you didn't follow the post-op instructions, guess who's going to get blamed for their bad result? Not the clinic. You are. I've seen this so many times inside of a clinic and publicly when someone's complaining about a result. And what do you know? They didn't follow post-op instructions, so the clinic can absolve all responsibility.
Exactly.
And it's not justified in a lot of cases where they can absolve responsibility. And frankly speaking, no clinic should absolve themselves of responsibility based on something like that. But I've seen it so many times, up close and personal, and from a distance, like on forums or wherever, where or patients even coming to me saying, "Yeah, I was told that it was my fault." It's like, well, did you follow the post-op instructions? Nope. You fell into the trap.
Yeah, you shouldn't say it to your clinic. You should lie.
Always follow post-op instructions.
Yeah.
And if you don't tell anyone.
Exactly.
Don't tell the clinic. Don't make it public.
Yeah, but one more reason why, like, people told me why they asked me. I was like, why are you asking me? Like, you paid all of this money to your doctor. Why not using him? You didn't pay me money for my opinion. You pay him. But I
can understand why they'd ask you.
Yeah.
They're asking you because you're more easily accessible.
Yeah, well, that's one thing. Another thing, they realize and they acknowledge that the place they went to, they know they're not the best. The problem is that that's the only thing they can afford, or they think they can afford. They don't want to, not do the surgery or try to save up for longer to get, proper one. That's why, so they just getting whatever done, and they're not following any advice because they know it's probably crap, and they're hoping for the best. This is the biggest amount of people that, you know, I deal with basically pretty much on a daily basis. And
wow,
what can I say? Sad reality. It is what it is, you know what I like.
It is, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's why I start really hating some of this, you know, hair meals. It's just
yeah, it's bad.
It's pretty bad, yeah. What was there? Another question, interesting. Oh, is FE or hold on? Is FE in FUT scar successful? Have you had some of this work done, Joe, yourself?
Yeah, I had FUE into my own FUT scar. When was it?
Ages ago.
No, I had it in 2019 when I went for my, yeah, that's right. 2019 when I went for my last surgery with Dr. Wong, we did 700 or 800 FUE, and he put about 100 in the occipital region of my donor scar, and it helped quite a bit. It wasn't wide, but it was wide enough to where a little bit of FUE into it would make it better, and it worked. It worked. It's fine, and I've seen it work in a lot of cases. And he used scalp hair in mine. I've seen a lot of cases where beard hair was used into the donor scar, which I'm a fan of. I like that idea because, especially in a case like, I kind of wish we had tried the beard hair in my case, but Dr. Wong and the team, they don't do beard hair. They're not experienced with it, so I wasn't in the mood that day to be a guinea pig for the 19th time. So we just stuck with scalp hair, and it worked fine. I don't know if all of them grew, but enough grew to where it worked out. It did make a difference.
It's worth mentioning that the survival rate is very likely going to be lower than the standard transplant, only because there's already scar tissue, which means reduced, you know, blood flow does survival. And why I'm not a fan that's of a beard hair into the scar, because you already have a reduced survival. Plus the beard hair itself has lower survival compared to scalp hair. Am I right or no?
I think a lot of that is, I mean, the obvious answer is it's doctor and tool dependent. And it's also patient dependent depending on the kind of beard hair they have. Is it straight? Is it curly? So on and so forth. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what the growth rates are. I do see, like, I'm in some private discussion groups on WhatsApp with about 100 doctors, and they have these discussions. And it's funny, just a sidetrack, even in private, these doctors will kind of pump themselves up to their colleagues for no reason other than ego. It's kind of funny, but back to the point. I think universally all of them admit that beard hair is not as successful as scalp hair, like some of them do publicly. But I can't say what the difference is. I think it might be a difference of 10%. Like if scalp hair has a 90% chance, 90 some odd percent chance of survival in scar tissue, depending on all kinds of different factors, then beard hair, all factors being the same, would be in the 80 percentile range, somewhere in the 80%. So yeah, I do agree with it, but it's very subjective. It's
slippery
very
slope.
Conditional.
Yeah, there is no proper double-blind placebo-controlled study.
Yeah, but yeah, you can say that.
You know, yeah, the gold standard. But yeah, well, I'm not a big fan in general of beard hair. I am a big believer you have to use your donor to as best as you can, because the beard hair, for most people, it's just different. Some people, they have really similar beard hair.
Sorry to interrupt. I will qualify that by saying that I think that beard hair is the preferred method if you do have limited donor resources, like in my own case. Like I'm nearly tapped out for, well, I'm completely tapped out for strip. Not completely, I still got a little laxity, but I got maybe...
Here Joe goes for another FUT.
1,000, 1,500 grafts left with FUE, but I don't want to use those for scars or anything other than thickening up my hair or lowering my hairline or whatever.
Well, of course.
So
yeah, the preferred is scalp, but then the second preferred obviously is beard. So yeah, maybe I need to do some beard transplant. What do you think, Joe? Shall I do a beard transplant?
Do you have enough beard hair?
No, from scalp hair. from scalp to beard.
Oh, scalp to beard. No, God, no. Jesus Christ.
Why not?
No.
Have you ever seen a good...
Keep your scalp donor for your scalp.
I'm obviously, I'm just making a joke. I would never do it. It's
I know you are.
I know
you are. But
it was such a waste.
I'm seeing how other people have done this on YouTube, and I'm just shaking my head as I say it because I know it's not about you, but I'm seeing the other people. It's like, Jesus Christ, people are funny, Rolandas.
Yeah.
People
However, I like that you said, do you have enough beard hair? Which is a really good point because, in my opinion, I haven't seen like really supernatural beard transplant using scalp hair. It's just because the scalp hair looks really different and it's usually too straight compared to beard hair. However, I've seen pretty good and interesting results when they used some neck hair to, to some like cheeks where it's like a little patchy. So, in my opinion, a good beard transplant is not the one that reconstructs from scratch, like it would be pretty much in my case, but the one that is just fixing little patches and using the same hair. That would look good if it's done correctly. So that's, I think, the only, beard hair that's good.
What I don't like seeing, and this is just, it's related, but it's kind of a segue. What I don't like seeing are younger patients going in for beard filling when they're, I say younger, I mean like 25, because a lot of times by the time they hit 30, that beard will start to fill in. That's exactly what happened to me. I've always been able to grow a good beard, but I never had these areas here on the sides of my lips, from my mustache area down into my chin. I could never grow this. There's two patches, and it was thankfully it was symmetrical, but they would never fill in. Like no hair was growing there. And by the time I was about 29, it started to grow, and then by the time I was about 32, it's consistent all the way through.
Wow.
And I think that if people just have a little bit of patience when they're in their early to mid 20s, there's a strong chance that those areas will fill in, especially if you got a patch on the side. As long as it's not some sort of areata situation, they'll fill in.
Yeah, they can also try Minoxidil. It works. I've seen so many.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah,
it's
good point.
just crazy.
Good point.
But it's not gonna work for everyone, and that's what people disappoint. Why, like people telling me all the time, Rolandas, why don't you try Minoxidil on your beard? Or like, well, I'm saying, listen, I'm actually not Minoxidil, supposed to work anyways. Been for a year, and I'm 31, so it's not happening, unfortunately. However,
well, you never know.
I doubt it. However, so basically the way it works, if there is some really thin, tiny hairs under the skin, they can thicken up with Minoxidil, or over time, the more the HT you're gonna have, obviously they're gonna thicken up. But if you don't have them, no amount of Minoxidil, microneedling, whatever you're gonna do, gonna create a hair out of thin air.
That's a great point. Like with the microneedling, it's like it doesn't suddenly create new follicles that weren't there to begin with.
Exactly.
All it does is encourages a rapid onset of blood flow into a specific area and stem cells, because you're wounding the skin, and so your body's trying to throw everything at it that it can to heal that area as fast as possible. And if there are hair follicles there that are miniaturized for whatever reason, because they've not come in yet, or because they're on their way out, they get like supercharged with nutrients, and that's when they thicken up, and hair shaft diameter, hair length, all that good stuff. But yeah, like I said, if there's not a follicle there to begin with, it's not going to appear just because you cut your skin.
Sorry guys. Joe, how short do you wear your hair on the back and the sides?
Oh God.
Can you show it to us, please?
Yeah, like I haven't had it cut in probably, God, when was the last time I got a haircut? Maybe a month, maybe not quite a month. And this is like I don't know how close I am to the camera. It's not very
pretty
close.
Far. Not to my standards.
Sorry, here we go.
Oh, that's so much better. Look, besides the camera quality is so great, I'm really jealous. No, it looks great. I cannot see FET scar. Like, so thousands of them that you had. It's incredible. Your transplant is just, I sometimes wish to see your result if you wouldn't been screwed up the first 2 times. I'm pretty sure that would be phenomenal. Like the best in the the best in the world. Result.
Someone asked me, I don't know if it was on a recent The Bald Truth episode or
that was me, obviously.
Or where, but
who else can ask you?
Well, it might have been you, yeah. But it might have been you. Asked me where I would have been. What would be different about my hair transplant if I had never had this first 2 that were so disastrous? And my answer is, well, my hairline would be lower, that's for sure, and my crown would be thicker. Maybe. I don't know if my crown would be thicker, but the hairline would definitely be lower because the reason why my hairline is where it is now and it's lower than it was when Dr. Wong first started doing the repair surgeries 20 years ago is because the previous work that I had, he went just low enough to camouflage it because he knew that I didn't have a whole lot of donor hair, or at least he thought at the time. So he didn't want to give me a really low hairline or a lower hairline. He wanted to do just enough to make the work that I had previously look more natural. In other words, to camouflage it, and it worked beautifully. And then he's lowered it probably centimeter and a half since that original repair surgery. But had I not been touched before Dr. Wong, my hairline would probably be a good solid 2 centimeters lower than where it is now. Temple points would be a little bit more pronounced, and I'd have, that's because that's what about 2,000 grafts would do. And the crown, I'm happy with the crown. There's, it can always be thicker, right? But I'm fine with it.
Hair grit is real. I know firsthand, and
It really is.
Yeah,
it really is.
You have to be careful. One guy asked an interesting question. His nickname is Bo. I found it funny. Anyways, Norwood 6 pattern, 37 years old male, diffuse loss, black hair, white scalp, medium thick hair, 84. It's too much information. I'm pretty sure Joe already forgot about it. Anyways, the point being, he is considering large FET with Dr. Wong in May, frontal third, I guess, or two thirds, and he doesn't care about the crown. Thoughts? What do you think? First surgery, 2/3 of the balding area covered with the FUT, don't care about the crown.
Norwood 6 pattern, 37 male, diffused loss, black hair, white scalp, medium to thick hair shafts, 80 grafts, 80 FU per centimeter square.
Classic case.
Yeah, it's a beautiful breakdown. Thank you. Bo. That's great. So I'm just formulating this. I'm organizing it in my head. I'm not a believer in big surgeries, meaning 4,000, 4,500, 5,000 grafts in one shot. And it's contrary to what I used to talk about as being ideal, and it's contrary to how a lot of the doctors I work with operate. But and that's fine. Like I'm not trying to set rules, but I'm not a believer in these big surgeries because I know what can happen if they fail, if there's poor growth. Because if you have a 4,000 or let's say a 5,000 graft surgery and you're an average case, then how many more grafts do you have to not only continue, the plan, but also to fill in what was supposed to grow in that first surgery that didn't? Take my own case. Like you just asked a perfectly good question that relates to this question. What would be different about my hair if I didn't have those 2 bad surgeries to begin with that had poor growth? Like it was 800 grafts or so, I think, was transplanted in 2 surgeries. 300 grew. So what would have happened with those 500 grafts? Well, aside from them looking like dog shit, because just really bad grafts, but assuming it looked natural, what would my result be now if 60% of the grafts that were transplanted in the first two surgeries looked better? Well, I wouldn't have to go back and redo things and be a repair patient where people are asking me 20 years later, what would be different about your surgery if the first ones, were that you didn't have, or if they were actually successful. So in a case like this, I think that dealing with the frontal third is a good idea, and not dealing with the crown. But I don't think that anyone should look at doing the entire top of the scalp, like from the hairline to the actual vertex. Vertex not being the crown. A lot of people confuse that. Vertex is the high point before you start going down the back slope into the crown. So they're phenomenal when they work out. They really are. And no one likes going in for multiple surgeries to get what they might be able to get in one surgery. And I not only do I understand that, I used to preach that. That was one of the things I used to talk about being a benefit of large strip surgeries. I don't feel that way anymore because I've seen too many cases. And I'm not talking about just cases that I've worked on personally with doctors I've worked for. I'm talking about patients online or other clinics I've had contact with, or patients that have come to me from other clinics saying, yeah, I had a 6,000 graft surgery, FUE or FUT or a combination, and it only looks like 2,000 grafts grew. They're in a deficit. And so now it's a repair game as opposed to continuing the process to get where they originally wanted to be.
And even with the best hands, it can be poor survival for one reason or another.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a long game. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Don't rush into it. Take it easy, and you're gonna be a winner. Hopefully, no guarantees. Not certainly by me.
And I think it's important for patients to consider. It's like, when they say, well, the clinic recommended 4,500 grafts. Well, great. Ask them if they can do 2,500. What are they gonna do? Say no?
Yeah. Dr. Zaref
I know
entered
clinics
the
that
chat.
have said no because it's not worth their time. I've seen that.
Yeah, definitely.
And that tells you all you need to know about the clinic. Go on someplace else.
Yeah, has to be ethical. Moving on. I'm 8 months after the hair transplant, but it's still see-through in broad daylight. Are the hairs going to gain thickness over the next months? What do you think, Joe?
This was from Ruben van der Velde. Right. I'm 8 months after the HT, but I still see broad daylight. Are the hairs going to... Okay. Just generally speaking, at 8 months, yeah, you can't expect your hairs in general to thicken. You can have some new growth that hasn't popped through, and the hairs that have popped through are continuing to mature. They're continuing to thicken in diameter as they get longer. So the answer is an emphatic yes. However, it doesn't mean that's not going to be see-through when you do reach your final result at 12 or 14 months or whenever that is. It depends on your skin color, skin type, hair color, how large of an area was addressed versus how many grafts were used to address it. So the graft to surface area ratio has to be considered. If you had a lot of loss, say a Norwood 5A, where the entire top of the scalp was gone, and you had like a 4,000 graft surgery, no, it'll always be see-through in direct sunlight from certain angles. Also depends on your hair length, like your haircuts. If you have a haircut that's kind of short, like say 2 or 3 inches, you can't expect no see-through effect. If it's longer and it's styled the right way, then sure, you can have a reduced see-through effect, but it'll never be 100%. Never. There are certain situations where it may look like that's the case, but I challenge anyone that's had a large area addressed with a large number of grafts to go through the sun test on camera with a third-party, unbiased reviewer, and it'll be see-through every time.
I don't know. While you were talking, I had a chance to show my result under the 3 lights that I've got here. Yeah, to be honest, it's still see-through. I'm not trying to say that it's still an illusion of density. That's why I always say people like, oh, Rolandas, your hair looks so freaking thick. No, it's not. It looks thick, but it's not thick. It's just illusion density. If I'm gonna go outside or like in the shop under a super direct, bright light, I'm gonna see through the shit out of it.
You know what I hate is when you get on an elevator and they got all the mirrors around you and they got those spotlights, those little small LED lights shining directly down. And it's usually a high Kelvin rating of like a 5500 to a 6000. And
those are the nightmare.
Burning, right? It's like it's burning through the top of your scalp.
It's those that are in the gyms or in the elevators, like you said, or in the shops. Those are just I'm just avoiding. No, I'm joking. I really don't care. I'm happy to have my hairline back. That's all. That's all I care about. And you can.
Sorry, there's a follow-up. He says, I'm a Norwood 2A to 3 with 2,700 grafts, very dark hair and pale skin. Well, then that's the other issue. Dark hair and pale skin. There's a really high contrast ratio, and your hairs will thicken. Hopefully, the density. Based on the numbers in the surface area, the ratio is going to be a high density, but it also depends on the growth rate. Like, did all the hairs grow? Assuming that they did, then it is a thickening process where just the hair shafts will thicken. There is an issue of angle and direction as well. If the angle is not flat enough, and some doctors will actually modify from a natural angle which matches any existing hair, they'll actually take it upon themselves to create a flatter angle and layer the grafts more so that there is less of a see-through look if the hair is combed forward, right? But if it's combed backward and it's already kind of a vertical angle from bad placement, then there's really not much you can do about that. I used to have that problem with my first 2 hair transplants because they stuck straight up, and nothing I did when I still had the rest of my hair would cover. So it was doomed from the beginning. Yeah,
that's the thing. It all depends on the angle. If you're looking at the hair directly, like if the hair is growing this way and you're looking from there to this, you pretty much don't see the hair, you just see what's in between. And you gotta see the scalp. And because the transplant is just illusional density, there is not that much in between. There is some spaces if you look close enough. So it all depends on the angle. That's why, for example, my crown, you know what, maybe I'll just show some examples of my crown. It's a perfect example. From one angle it looks phenomenal, from another angle it looks like could have been better. So yeah, no, really, I'm not even joking. Let me just find some pictures. Okay, what we got here? You know what, oh, there you go. We got some I'll just go like that. This is my crown from the back. It's styled, or you know what? Let's just look at this one.
Oh my God! I see your scalp.
Oh no! Okay, I'm out of here.
You should just quit, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You just quit. Hang it up. No, I see your scalp.
That's it. That's all. Yeah. But from this angle, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it looks really good.
However, if you're looking from the front, you can see what the hell is that? Oh, look! It's a bald spot, and also here. Right away. If you're changing a little bit the angle, a little bit lower, so the hair are layering each other, again, straight away the bald spot looks a bit less. Here you cannot really even see that much. So it really all depends on the angle.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the light. I did these pictures literally on purpose just to show what some other people making pictures like that. Look at that.
Oh, see this. I'm looking at the one that you just posted with a darker view, and these are the kind of photos that clinics love to throw up on social media when they know themselves that it's a complete misrepresentation of the result. They'll go through them and say, so use this one. This looks really good.
Yeah, this is literally on the daylight, like as harsh as you can get, and you can see through a little bit. You can see through quite a bit, and it's not styled. It's greasy. It's just brushed back. That's it. But
it still looks reasonably thick. I mean, you can see into it, but any reasonable person would look at this and say, yeah, he's got a good head of hair. They wouldn't say he's losing it or it's too thin. Exactly. Some people would say it's too thin, but they just don't have realistic expectations.
Exactly, yeah. And here, there is no direct sunlight. It looks so much better. Not to mention, of course, how natural it is. Just I'm freaking in love with my hairline. Dr. Ferreira is a true artist. But it looks straight away so much better. So
looks really good.
Yeah. There you go. Oh, I just opened so many pictures. Too many. Oh, there you go. We're back to Joe. So yeah, perfect example. angle, direction, hair, the light quality can make a huge difference. Always be careful and mindful when you're doing your research and approaching clinical results online from people. There was some questions. Rolandas, how does your hair look when it's wet? Is it normal to see thinning when hair is wet? I feel like this feeling to have of hair loss is me just looking for signs of aging. I mean, like, listen, I've done some videos in the past, pictures, plenty of. Okay, maybe I'm not gonna be able to find pictures right now, but I've done plenty of videos with the wet hair. Just go through my channel. You have to find it. Sorry, I cannot give you a perfect link because I just done so many videos. But in almost all of the transplant updates videos that I've done, or in almost all of them, I'm showing in like in a wet condition, different angles, light quality, and so yeah, just go back and check it out. But in short, the answer is it doesn't look as thick as when it's dry.
I think it's important to point out that no person, even with a full head of hair, looks like they have the same full head of hair when it's wet.
Exactly.
And the reason being is when you have wet hair and different degrees of wetness, like when you're in a pool and you come up straight out of the water, it's all flat against your scalp and it's fairly consistent. But as it's drying and you towel dry it, then all the hair clumps together so that there is no even distribution. There's no layering of hair, which is what you see in nature. It's all clumped together. And especially the direction that you're looking at the scalp, you can see in between those clumps of hair and see nothing but scalp. And
again, comes down to the angles. It's all about 100%. The angles. Angles are king.
100%.
There was another interesting question from Jason1555. Rolandas, hey Joe, how good is the efficacy of finasteride? Have you seen people holding onto their hair for 10 plus years? And before I let Joe answer, because he has a brilliant, I'm pretty sure he has a brilliant answer, being himself or way too long on finasteride. I've done, didn't mean to say anything about it. I've done a video analyzing finasteride 10-year study done on 500 Japanese men. It's a brilliant study. I love it. So I'll show on my channel right here. Where is this video? Where did it go? There you go. Finasteride efficacy. Finasteride doesn't work for you. Watch this before you're stopping it. And this is literally just go back, check this video. Plenty of examples. But in short, it seems like the lower your Norwood level is, again, according to the study, the better you will respond long term. Meaning, usually people say that like your results plateau finasteride in the first 2 years, and after that it kind of like plateaus and stays the same. However, according to this study, for some people, it might be just Japanese men, we don't know. But if your Norwood level is between 2 and 4, you kind of experience more and more kind of regrowth and overall visual better like density and result with finasteride in the next 10 years. Believe it or not, there are some people documented that had better and better result in after 2 years, after 5 years, and even after 10 years. While people, if they are Norwood 5 and even 7, their efficacy is not as great. So Norwood 5 usually plateaus around 2 years, and then if you're Norwood 6 and 7, it plateaus at like 1.5, 2 years, and then decreases. While Norwood 5 like kind of stays stable during the 10 years. So the takeaway from that study is basically the earlier you catch your hair loss, the better you will do. And that's why you should not jump into the surgery and just get the medication and try as soon as you can.
And as far as my brilliant answer that Dr. Rolandas was, Mr. Rolandas, Dr. Rolandas, that Mr. Rolandas was referring to, I have 2 words: Spencer Coburn. He's been taking it for 25 years. He took it before it was even available for hair loss, just as Proscar, before any doctors were prescribing it for hair loss. He was probably one of the first. And he's been on it religiously ever since, varying dosages, varying frequency of intake, and he still got most of his hair. And he's admitted on camera that his crown has deteriorated a little bit over time. He has to paint his scalp, use a little bit more paint to paint his scalp. But for the most part, he can still pull off that hairstyle, which is the same hairstyle he's had for 25 years. And I think that's a huge testament to the efficacy of finasteride. And you know, a lot of people will say that it loses efficacy after 5 years, or it loses efficacy after 10 years. Most people say 10, or 5 years. I don't hear 10 very often, but it doesn't make sense to me. It's not like your body suddenly decides, oh, you know what? I've had this chemical in me for the past 5 years. I need to build up a resistance to it. The body doesn't work like that. You can build up a tolerance for medications, but those are usually painkillers, because your body can adapt to that, to where the painkiller isn't powerful enough to deal with the same pain that had been dealing with before. But it's not like that with all medications. And it's not like that with finasteride. It doesn't just suddenly stop working. One way I've described it to people is, if you see that it's not working, and it takes, you know, it might be 5 years before you see that it's not working the way that you thought. It's because it's such a gradual degradation over time. Because you got to remember, it's not reducing your DHT by 100%. It's reducing it by 63, 65, 67%.
Yeah.
So there's still over 30% of a DHT measurement in your system, and it just depends on how sensitive your follicles are
exactly
at that level to DHT. Some people have a higher sensitivity to DHT. Some people have a lower sensitivity. It's highly variable.
That's why it doesn't stop.
Just lose efficacy.
Yeah, that's why it doesn't stop hair loss. It's slowing down, like I love to say, hair loss. And how well you're going to respond, how well it's going to work for you, nobody knows. Nobody going to tell you. You just have to try. Sadly. That's like, you know, just try and see how well you're going to do. Perfect answer, Joe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think we'll have to wrap up. It's been 1.5 hours. Crazy, Joe. Really appreciate your yeah. It's been time flies by. Yeah, it always does. Maybe we can grab 1-2 more last questions. Joe, did you see anything interesting that you would like to address? While you're looking at some quick one, Oli S. Have you heard of HLC Clinic in Turkey? Yes, and definitely, Joe I've heard. I like their work. There are multiple doctors, so you need to look for consistency as it always is. But it seems like they're doing good job. So, but again, do your own research. You know, find if you like their approach, the way they're doing, whether you are happy with their consistency, because it's always going to be like one doctor going to have one artistry, another going to be slightly, you know, different. So, and you never know which doctor, most of the time, which doctor going to be operating on you. So, you know, it's up to you to decide whether you like to risk. Personally, I want to know as much as I can. So, meaning I should know that my doctor is doing extractions on me on the same extractions that he done for hundreds of patients. The same implantations, the same everything, basically. So that's, if I see 100 results, I know the 101 first result, it's going to be something similar as an average. That's the way I look at it. What do you think, Joe?
See.
I guess that was the answer. Joe doesn't care.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that was, I got nothing to add to that. That was good. Let's see, I was looking for another question.
Okay.
See.
I love the side effects.
No, that's not the question. Okay. Joe, what younger surgeons in the U.S. do you have your eye on besides Nussbaum and Yaker? I'm getting a consult with both and would love to hear if there's any others you'd recommend. Well, I don't, you know, I don't look for younger doctors. It's just who applies to work with me and be a part of what I do. You know, there's a doctor in the Northeast that doesn't get, I think, nearly as much recognition as he deserves. His name's Dr. Scott Bowden. He's in Connecticut. I think he does really good work, very nice work, and most importantly, very natural work. Just like Dr. Nussbaum, he does use the ARTIS robotic system when it's appropriate for his patients, but he's one of those doctors that doesn't just rely on one tool for all patients. He does come from a proper hair transplant background. He's not a a plastic surgeon decided to buy the robot because it's easy to start adding hair transplant surgery to his practice for some extra cash. He is a dedicated hair transplant surgeon, and he does offer really good FUT, FUE that's motorized, and then he uses the artist for the appropriate cases, and he'll combine cases as well, or methods. Very good doctor and good guy too. Good ethics. It's not a recommendation. It's just talking about who I think.
Just another name to research.
Just another name to research.
Guys, just look at ihrs.org. Go there. Plenty of names to research.
There you go. That's it.
That's it. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I think we should wrap up. Joe, once again, thanks so much. You got another question?
No, we're good. Actually, got it. I didn't realize the time. It's a perfect hour and a half. So that's
exactly.
Plenty. Good job. I had fun. Thanks for having me on.
Brilliant, great stuff. Thank you so much, Joe. I hope, guys, you enjoyed. If you got any more questions, drop them in the comments down below. Maybe Joe gonna spend some time the next couple of days replying. Joe, would you do it? Yes, he will.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much, Joe.
I put a link to this video in my community section of my channel, so I'll be able to see when people are. I should be able to see when people are commenting, but I'll check back and jump onto that. And just for everyone watching this, don't forget, like this video. I'm seeing 15 likes. Okay, it was 14, now it's 15 likes, and we need to get it up there. So do that for us. Put the like button underneath your mouse and click it. And of course, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and enable all notifications so that you are notified when Mr. Rolandas is back on the air.
Yes. Great stuff. And for now, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. And until next time, peace out.
Good night.